I've been waiting a long time to drop this. I don't know what it was. Maybe fear, maybe perfectionism, maybe that voice in my head that kept saying, not yet, keep building. But I'm done waiting. For the last 5 years, all I've known is entrepreneurship. From building a 7-figure agency to making $3.5 million in 3 minutes. From hitting the bestsellers list to speaking on multiple stages. From traveling the world to building a global movement for men. From the little kid who grew up in Houston, Texas, to moving his whole family across the world with nothing but a vision and a vow. But the truth is, it wasn't always wins. Behind every milestone, there were countless battles. Everyone only seems to see the victories, but only I know the scars. I lost the 2 most important men in my life, and I spent years healing the boy I used to be, the one that felt unseen, unheard, and unworthy. All I knew is, I had a mission. I tried to change the world, but I realized the only thing I could change was myself. For years, I faced these demons and lived to tell the tale. I've traveled across multiple time zones, accumulating knowledge, reading books, attending conferences, and even went soul searching deep in the spiritual realms. I stared death in the face multiple times, emotionally, mentally, financially, and most definitely spiritually. But every single time I came back wiser. I realized that God had a plan for me. You see, sometimes God pushes us to our limits. It's because He has greater faith in us than we do ourselves. I've realized that I've been the underdog, the breadwinner, the architect, the leader. But now, no more filters, no more highlight reels, and no more waiting. It's finally time I share my full journey. Not just what you see online, not just the wins, but the losses, the failures, the lessons, the scars, and the soul. My name is Ali the Alchemist, and this is my story. Alright, welcome to the channel. It did take me a long time to do this, but it's because I wanted to get it right. The creative in me wanted to produce a cinematic video. So with that intro, I can go ahead and get started. I think it's only right that I share the full story. You know, everyone on Instagram sees the luxury, the travel, the wins, right? But no one sees the struggle that goes on behind the desk, the frustrations, the lonely feelings. This is all part of the rite of passage that every man has to face. Every man and woman, everyone has their own rite of passage. I actually got this sleeve, and the representation of this, I'll show you guys. The representation of this mural, this guy went through his trials and tribulations, all the milestones, all the obstacles, climbing the ladder of success, all the knowledge, all the people lost. He's looking up at the next phase. He just thinks he went through all this hell, and then he meets at the cliff, and then there's a big jump, and then there's a pyramid. And that's represented by, you know, the new levels and new doubles that you have to go through. Think about this allegory. As soon as he thinks he's done, a new set of challenges face him. But he's already passed the first set. He's evolved into the next version of himself. So the future challenges will require a different version. So that is the concept of alchemy. In the ancient traditions, they talked about turning lead into gold. Transmutation. A lot of spirituality, we hear the word transmutation. In Think and Grow Rich, he even talks about sexual transmutation. But why? Transmutation is the science or the art of changing something from one form to another. In physics, it's changing from one element to the next. In spirituality, it's one state of mind or state of consciousness to the next. And in life, it's one challenge to the next, transmuting these challenges into power. So the subject matter of this channel is alchemy. How to use alchemy in every aspect of your life. I'll be talking about many forms of alchemy. Of course, spiritual alchemy, physical alchemy. As I'm in my fitness jersey, I'm alchemizing the tools. First of all, I'll have to accept the body that I was given, right? And now I have to alchemize using the tools, whether it's the diet, whether it's supplements, whether it's sleep, whether it's the gym facilities. I have to use all these different elements to help me get to that next level, help me get to the best physique and shape and internal feeling of my life. Now think about it. A gym is a good example. You go to the gym, you get fit, you rip the muscles, it tears the muscles, and then the process of sleeping and regenerating those muscles just to rip them again, and then they grow bigger and bigger and stronger. So that's how it works. Now, life is the same way. You go through these challenges, and a lot of times the challenges repeat themselves until you learn the lesson that the challenge was trying to teach you. And as soon as you learn the lesson, the challenge evaporates. The obstacle does not seem like an obstacle anymore. And now you're capable as a man, you're capable of handling whatever life throws at you. So in this channel, we'll be discussing physical alchemy, spiritual alchemy, mental alchemy, and then of course, business alchemy, turning ideas into execution, turning your connections into capital. How do you use the tools that are given to you? We live in the most blessed age. We have the internet. Everything could be done with your phone. Everything could be done with a camera. You can create content. Most of the time, the business opportunities are endless. You just need internet, a phone, a computer, and if you're creating content, a simple camera. Even your phone will do. And you can get your word out. You can market. So these tools, we're going to learn how to integrate them into our life. So when it comes to business, I'll be talking about leveraging tools and talent. I'll be talking about leveraging AI. Just using all these things that we have access to our advantage. And of course, connections and capital. I'll talk about relationship alchemy, how to build a power couple. I'll talk about leadership alchemy, how to build a super team and get everyone enrolled in your vision and have everyone working to their prime and pushing them to be the best version of themselves for the common good, for the common goal. So now that you know what this channel is about, let's jump into this story. I waited a long time to share this, and it's only right that I start the channel with this information, so you have a context on why I do what I do and how I do what I do. So my upbringing's in Houston, Texas. So I was born and raised in Houston, Texas, the exact city that the rappers talk about. A-Leaf, Texas. I was on the junction of Dairy Ashford and Belfort. And this street, on this side of the street, everything is normal. And on this side of the street, some of the worst situations you can put yourself in. And we grew up in survival mode. My dad was a very, very hardworking man. Most of the principles and lessons that I learned were from my father. Respect, hard work, taking care of your family, sacrifice, just being accountable, being able to push yourself to the limit, no complaining. My father was very stoic. He didn't show a lot of emotions. So there's great things that I learned from my father. And there's a few things I learned that he did that I know I didn't want to do. So either way, I learned from him. So rest in power to my father. Now, growing up in Houston, we were in survival mode. It was very, very tough neighborhood, On top of that, growing up Middle Eastern as a Muslim, it was very tough, especially after 9/11. There was once a week I used to get into fights. Didn't even know how to fight back then, but we just threw hands. And that was a big culture in Houston, right? Everyone's fighting. At the end, you shake, you respect each other, and boom. So growing up, I had several paradigm shifts. First paradigm shift, growing up Middle Eastern, growing up Muslim, trying to be two different people, who my parents wanted me to be, who religion wanted me to be, and who the fuck I am. What society was pushing me to be. And that was pretty savage, fighting, stealing, smoking, whatever we can in survival mode. I saw my dad working his ass off and only making $700 a week and supporting a family of 6, busting his ass. So I didn't really understand investing and saving and all that. It was just ends meet. But he tried to provide us with everything, and I respect him for it. And with that, the first paradigm shift came when I saw someone die right in front of me. And I realized that that could have been me. The second paradigm shift, once I got to college, I dressed different, I spoke different, I thought different, I hung out with different people. I was a college kid now, balancing 2 jobs, full-time student, youngest vice president of a student organization, Alpha Kappa Psi, my business fraternity, and DJing and throwing events. That was my first taste of entrepreneurship, throwing events on the weekend and DJing myself. It was epic. It was a passion because I used to go to a lot of festivals and I had a passion for music. So with that being said, school finished, came back with 2 degrees, moved back to Houston with my parents at their house. And now, what do? We get a job, corporate America, third paradigm shift. New Ali, suited up, new car, working for his $70,000 a year salary, working his ass off. Yes, that was a crazy time in my life. Let me tell you my schedule back then. I woke up at 5, left the house at 6, showed up to work at 7. 7 to 7 we worked. It was a nurse's matrix schedule. So I was in healthcare consulting, did operations and marketing for hospitals. And if you know about a nurse's matrix, it's 12-hour shifts several times a week. Okay, so with that, corporate America, corporate Ali, I worked my ass off, contributed to my family. But at the same time, I was wasting a lot of time and money partying on the weekends. That was my escape or my vice or my excuse, to be honest. That was an excuse. I work my ass off. I contribute to my family. I take care of my parents. I support the household so I can go party and chase and drink and do drugs. Wrong. When I left corporate America to start my business and I got scammed and I had to go back to a job. And I'm like, what's the repeating pattern here? The repeating pattern is I was not who I was supposed to be. I was just acting like him. Even though I'm doing noble stuff, right? Respectable stuff, I know deep inside I could do way better. I had a high expectation and standard for myself. So this paradigm shift was when I quit the job. I quit the job, by the way, because I generated my company $49 million from an EMR I built. For those that know, in sales, you have CRMs. In healthcare, you have EMRs. I built this EMR. I coded it. I found the team to build it. I designed it. I wireframed it. And I built it. And then my boss ended up licensing it. And I didn't get shit because I didn't do my contracts right. But it was all just a lesson. It was just a lesson. And I'm so glad it happened. Next paradigm shift. We closed our first 10K deal as entrepreneurs, me and my business partner at the time. And I went out celebrating. And then the next day I found a video of me passed out, throwing up on myself. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? This guy made a little bit of money, thinks he can act like that when his parents worked their ass off and they, fled their country to come give us a better opportunity. And then we grew up in the hood and we left the hood and I went to college and I got these degrees and I spent this money. And now I'm acting like this? Who the fuck is this guy? Next paradigm shift. That day, that's the day I gave up drinking. Cold turkey stopped. I don't need that shit anymore. A month later, I gave up smoking too. During college, I smoked a lot of weed. I was a full-blown Rasta hippie. I loved the culture. I love what it represented. But again, you're depending on substances. When you create a dependency, there's an attachment. And in spiritual laws, you'll learn the law of detachment. So I detached. And from then on, it's been 6 years. I haven't put anything in my body. I don't even take medicine. I did start peptides though. You'll see the transmutation of the physical. But right now, I'm in this entrepreneurship state. Gave up drinking, gave up smoking. And what do you know? We leveled up. By the way, in Arabic, alcohol is pronounced alcool, which means flesh-eating spirit. What do you see when you go to a liquor store? Beer, wine, spirits. And they say there's a spirit invoked that's not really you. I've talked to a lot of people. They say they act different. That's not them. It's a spirit controlling, making you make decisions that's not you. I don't believe in that shit. I believe in taking care of your body, being in control. So I don't need that. So everyone who's addicted to something, do some self-assessment. See if that's really you or is that the addiction speaking. Anyway, next paradigm shift. Entrepreneurship. I'm a full-blown entrepreneur now. What does an entrepreneur speak like, think like, dress like? What does he do on his daily basis? He creates. So I stayed in a state of creation. My first year of business, I did over $250,000. My second year of business, I did $1 million in a year. And the third year of business, I did $3 million in a day. 3.4 actually. And what do you know? As soon as I let go of these habits that don't serve me, God leveled me up. In the meantime, I wrote a book. I traveled the world. I even met my dream girl. All alchemy. Now, everything's going smooth. 2021, I make the most money I've ever made in a single day. And the next month, my father passes away. I wanted to retire my father more than anything. And I wasn't able to. And it was the biggest act of detachment. I'm like, God, I have a plan, but God has a bigger plan. And remember, guys, I grew up agnostic. I challenged the mosque. I hung out with all these people, Christians, Jews, Hindus, Sikhs, Catholics. I even hung out with atheists. I wasn't going to deny God's existence. I just didn't know. Remember, there's a chart. Atheism, agnosticism, Gnosticism. I was agnostic. I didn't know what to believe. I'm like, there's 5,000 religions. I read all these books and I dabbled in reading all these books. One thing that's true, that growing up, I was always a reader. I was always curious. I was a very curious child. I was a very curious teen, even amongst fighting and doing this crazy shit when I was in gang-related activity. I would come home and read, whether it was like Goosebumps, whether it was Harry Potter. I don't care. I read. I love that shit. I developed a pretty borderline photographic memory. I memorized all my credit card numbers, my social security, my driver's license. When you see the 2FA, I look at it once. Well, by the time people read a page, I'm already done with 2 pages. So the reading skill really, really came in handy. And, after a while, I found out that I really love reading and learning. And I'm just a visual and kinesthetic learner, so I have to see it, Anyway, my father passed away and my world turned upside down. There was a lot of emotions, a lot of trauma that I didn't release, and I pent it up because I had to be there for my family. I had to be the shoulder for them to cry on. And he passed suddenly. Like, he was in the hospital for a minute, but he was only 60 plus. He wasn't that old, and he was a hardworking man. So it was like very tough because seeing him bedridden and this and that, it was very fucked up for my family. And this was right before I retired. I was about to give him a $250,000 check, tell him to chill, relax, and I wasn't able to. So it was a big blow to not just my heart and my mind, but my ego, to my family, to my, to the need I had of, taking care of my father like he took care of us. So that's when the chapter really twisted. I had to really step into what it meant to be a man, what it meant to take care, what it meant to be selfless, what it meant to be organized, and I couldn't fuck around. But the years after that were tough, man. I faced a lot of demons and I had to do a lot of healing. So 1 year later, I actually went to Costa Rica to do ayahuasca, and I sat in the jungle with shamans and I meditated for a week. I did this combo, which is the frog poison that they put on you. Then I did the 3 cups of aya in 3 days, and then I also did the temescal, which was probably the single most toughest things I've done in my life. I've done a lot of tough shit, and then life kind of balances on. It doesn't get easier, but we just get tougher, you know. At this point, I retired my mama. I'm taking care of her. I'm sending her, a lot of money, supporting my brothers any way they can. And now I have one more challenge. My brother suffered from addiction. And now at this point, he's balls deep. He was very bad when my dad was alive. But when he passed, it got even worse because he was in the same, situation as us. He just lost his father. And so he relapsed several times. The next 2 years were spent a lot in rehabs. And there was a moment where, he passed away. Actually, January 2021, he passed away for 2 minutes. And I saved his life by just coordinating an ambulance to come resuscitate him. It was a crazy situation. But now we fast forward. Business is leveled out again. Obviously, we didn't make millions like we did, but business is leveled out. I'm traveling, I'm teaching, I'm speaking on stages. And from there, we throwing our next mastermind in Miami with the Circle Syndicate. And I get a call that my brother passed away. He OD'd on the way to Miami to see us, which was another brutal blow. And the crazy thing is, 2 months before I took him, I brought a shaman to the house for him to do iboga. For those that study plant medicine, you have obviously your mushroom and acid. Then you work your way up to ayahuasca and San Pedro and Wachuma. And then you work your way up to bufo, which is a same DMT release, but very compact and lasts 10-15 minutes. And then you have the mothership, iboga. And the reason being is because it was made popular by Jordan Belfort, and he did it to reset his receptors. It was almost like he's never done drugs in his life. So I reset my brother. My brother was addicted to some hard stuff, very hard stuff. And we cured him. For 60 days, he was a brand new person. And it was so amazing to see because it was actually him. It was his authentic personality, his creative ability, his passion. So I was flying him out to Miami to be with me during the event, and the morning of, on the way to the airport, he dies. Second blow to the face. Damn. This one I was a little prepared for because of what happened the first time, but even though I was prepared, it was not easy. This one hurt my mom a lot more, obviously, and I had to really be there for her and show up as a son. So now 2 debts. Look, guys, whether we're talking about alchemy or relationships or business or whatever, there's a lot of tough shit that can happen. The world, it's a beautiful place, but there's, people go through shit. We're just blessed enough to be able to choose where we eat and where we live and, the clothes on our body and what car we drive. Most people don't have that blessing. But no matter what, no matter how prepared you are, a death will always be the toughest. But at this point, I'm really fearing death, right? I had 1 person die on me, 2 people die on me. Changes the whole family dynamic. We're missing people now. But after doing these plant medicines and ayahuasca and bufo, I really learned what death is. I learned death is a beautiful experience. It's scary because it's different, but it's just, again, transmutation. It's one form to another. Bob Proctor made that second Newton's law very popular, the law of conservation of energy. Energy is not created or destroyed. I have it tattooed on me. Most of my things that I really resonate with have it tattooed on me. So they just changed form, and now I absorb their energy, my brother and my father, and now I got to carry on their legacy, and now I got to achieve the goals that they had. My brother wanted to be a musician. I'm not saying I'll be a musician, but something involved in it. My father wanted to be a pilot. Maybe I'll learn how to fly a plane. So I really learned what death is and how to handle it. And I had to really, it's only been 2-3 years since this happened. But the truth is, again, it doesn't get easier. We just get tougher. And I'm here with all these resources and knowledge and these responsibilities that I have to fulfill, taking care of my family, taking care of my girl, taking care of my community, taking care of my business partners and the people that are looking up to me. And so I decided to do this. For YouTube, I just stalled for a long time. It was so much stuff going on, focusing on my health, focusing on, creating streams of income, getting back to the $1 million a month. But I think it's time we share all of it. I'll show you exactly how my brain functions, how I think, how I act, what I study on a daily basis. One of the biggest keys to my success is just being able to study. I learn at a rapid rate. I put myself in a lot of situations to learn, whether conferences or podcasts or YouTube or people. I'm always in a state of learning, and you must be in a state of learning. Think about learning as alchemy. You take someone else's information from their text or their voice, and you implement that into your life because it's a better way of living. Call it systems thinking. It's a better system. If the system's better than your system, implement that system. And not just in business and life. If someone gives you a better morning routine, someone gives you a better diet, better way to work out, why not implement it? Because they're already doing what you want to do. They already have the results that you want. So from growing up in Houston, leaving the hood, going to college, getting 2 degrees, going to corporate America, getting shorted out of a percentage of 50 million, starting a business, failing, getting scammed, starting another business, hitting the financial milestones, making a world record on a sellout in one day, to losing family members, to shifting the body into the ideal physique, to meeting the dream girl, to leadership, to writing a book, working on my second, gonna be on TED Talk, working on Forbes list, all that kind of stuff. This is reality. This is the most authentic. This is the biggest story. I'm gonna share with you everything, but I have one request from you. You need to be in a state to learn. Be in a growth mindset. Take everything I say with a grain of salt, and if it works for you, implement it. If I tell you a book or a concept or a philosophy, go look it up, go study it, do your own research, and if it works and it makes your life better, implement it. The whole point is to create your desired reality, to take the rocks and stones and pebbles that life throws at you and to make a fucking empire. That's the goal. It's the only goal I have, for me to be the highest and best and happiest and richest version of myself, for me to inspire you to do the same. So promise me, you'll take this information, you'll do your own research, you'll implement it, and you'll improve every aspect of your life with alchemy. And guys, look, as you can tell, I like doing cinematic shit. I like going above and beyond. I put my heart and soul into this craft. It's part of being a polymath, part of maxing your stats, part of being an alchemist. Everyone can be an alchemist. Everyone has challenges and obstacles, and they have to navigate this journey we call life. So let's do that shit together. I'm super excited to share these videos with you. I hope they make an impact, just like someone impacted me. I hope they impact you. I hope you take the things I teach you and run with it. I hope you learn how to handle adversity. I hope you tap into the abundance that God has provided. I hope you quit the bad habits that are holding you back. I hope you meet the right people to help you level up. I hope you inspire others around you and become inspired by those around you. I hope you create a circle. I hope you exercise your creative ability. And to be honest, I hope you fucking max your stats. Ali the Alchemist. Let's go.